Welcome to the Show Me Podcast with your host, Jeff Livingston. Every episode, a guest joins Jeff and discusses how images tell stories and what makes them work or not.
All right. Okay, guys, welcome to the Show Me Podcast. We're in season 2 here. I've got 2 guests with me, which is a little bit unusual, and we're going to do a little bit of a different format with this one. This is going to be a fun show. We're going to talk about iconic, I don't want to say rock images because we got a few pops in there too, but music images through the years, including some of the today's, but a lot of historical ones. But with that, I'm going to introduce our guest really quickly, Rachel Lange, who is a photographer of heavy metal bands. Is that right?
Mostly metal, yeah. Rock, but yeah, it's been mostly metal.
Then there was that time they made you do MC Hammer, right? You were like, no. Oh. All right.
Ding, 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 ding.
And we got a real musician with us, Brett Pocorobba.
Musician, wow. No one's called me that before.
He's a bassist.
Just slap and pop on the bass, that's just like, hitting this thing,
And then I'm going to actually introduce our sound engineer, who I usually reference, Panama Carlton, but she is also a musician, so I've definitely given her the green light to perform or to comment. And what we're going to do with this episode is really kind of start off with an image. I'm going to put us on a timer just in case we get a little bit too long-winded because we have so many images we want to talk about. And I kind of want to say, I feel like this is just like the surface level show, in the sense that there are so many different veins that this could go in. We had 60, 70 images that we were talking about before we got into this. A lot of them were heavy. Some of them were classic rockers. Like we had Led Zeppelin and The Who and some of those guys. We had some more of the pop folks too, and some soul and R&B. And we just had some different things that we could do with this. And we just ended up taking some of the best images and going with it. And if the people love the show, then we'll definitely do a lot more, and we'll get genre specific. So with that, Rachel, why don't you start us off and introduce yourself really quickly and where people can find you?
Okay. I'm Rachel Lange. I'm a photographer, new photographer in the local music scene here in DC. I'm on Instagram. I'm Sneezy PhD. And on Twitter also, and Facebook and everywhere else.
Cool. Mr. Brett.
So I was the bass player of Skip House, and then I had a daughter. So I used to be a financial...
I know that feeling.
a finance guy during the day and then a musician at night. But now it's finance by day and dad by night. So
best job you can have, being a dad.
But I still keep it gangster. Yeah.
Okay. let's start off with this first photo, which is the classic Annie Leibowitz, iconic kind of John naked on top of Yona while he kisses her. Any thoughts on this image?
I like how I've mentioned that I didn't really care for this picture because I'm just not a huge Beatles fan and don't really care that much for John Lennon, which is probably blasphemy. But what
You're
does
a McCartney lady.
I'm a Stones lady.
Oh,
What strikes me here is really the amount of passion that comes through, that you can kind of see that is channeled through John, directed toward Yoko. I mean, she's sort of passive, and all of the action is actually coming through John. And you can even see, I never actually noticed before, but his feet are blurry. His foot's blurry kind of there, and his rear end is a little fuzzy.
thank God.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that in high res.
All right. What about you?
Man, Paul McCartney was right. John Lennon was so self-absorbed. So my theme with either album covers or photography, and I will preface by saying, on a scale of 0 to 10, when it comes to photography, whether it's rock photography or photography any kind, or even taking pictures of my daughter, I'm like on a scale of 0.5. Having been said that, I always think whether it's an album cover or, a photograph, it should send a message. And I just see self-absorbed, just kind of like, yep, look at me, I'm naked. Like, has nothing to do with the music. It was all about being provocative. So it's
And back then, that photo was pretty shocking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it made her career.
and by the way, he liked being naked a lot. They both like.
What's
being
wrong
naked.
with that?
I like being naked too.
I like being naked. Oh, don't get me wrong. I like being naked myself, but
Yeah.
I also know that I'm not that attractive, so I got to know my place.
I part of me kind of got a little bit taken aback by the image in the sense that today I don't know if that image would work. Like in the 70s, that image would work, but
It's a
today in the
very
Me Too era, I
70s.
don't think so. Like especially the way he was like holding her, and it's almost like she is non-compliant. She's passively just suffering through the embrace.
Well, no, you know what? I was just about to say. She's like, "Oh my God, John, why are you making me do this again?"
Why'd you eat the beans, John?
God,
It is a very 70s shot.
Yeah. Nope. So that's good. See, now we are definitely why we say when we talk about the Show Me podcast, what worked or didn't. And that's a didn't for us. Okay, this next one is pretty awesome. This is Johnny Cash at the Folsom Jail. He's giving one of the prisoners a handshake. I love this image myself just because it's more of a photojournalism take, kind of like what I like a lot more of the live action shots of the performers because you can see more character. And I mean, it was controversial when he did this because like, oh my God, who plays for a bunch of prisoners? But he's like, hey man, these are my people. These are people. They like me. I am performing for them. And it's just a real amazing moment. Any thoughts on it?
So I'll say this, and adding to that, it doesn't even look like he's in a prison. It looks like, and we don't know what certain crimes these people did, probably some horrible stuff, but at the same time, they're still human, right?
Yes.
So it's
Just bad decisions, right?
bad. Well,
I happen to love this picture. I
You're the one that selected it.
I picked this photo. Jim Marshall is also the one who took the picture of Johnny Cash flipping the bird to the camera, and which was also at Folsom Prison. I went with this one because I loved the humanity of the photo. There's an intimacy there between Johnny and the prisoner. Everyone looks thrilled. You're right, Brett. You don't know that you're actually at a prison here. It could be anywhere else. And I just love it. I absolutely, and I also am fond of the shots that are taken from the stage and then you can kind of see out into the vastness of the crowd too.
Right.
So it's a variation of that.
It's perspective. And
Yeah.
it's unlike a traditional concert where it's usually the crowd is dark, right?
Yeah.
so on that note, like Live at Folsom Prison, I love that album.
Yeah.
It's raw. It's good, man.
You're going to bring your A game. You're going to bring your A game to a prison gig.
Yeah. You don't want to suck in prison, right? Sorry about the double entendre on that one. Yay! So the other thing with this is a crazy show, Panama. the other thing about this, which I found interesting, was the blurring. It just goes to show you, like, everybody's so anal about being sharp with your photos. And yeah, there's nothing, there's something about a crisp image that really stands out. But when an image shows a story, the story will always win over technical excellence. Yeah. All right.
I like stories.
Can you tell me a story, Brad?
Can you read me?
Speaking of stories, where is our NWA photo? Now, I chose this one, and because I loved them in the 80s when they came out. They were so in your face. I mean, they were, to me, like, I was a punk rocker, and they were punk, man. They were just like, we didn't care. We don't give a shit. We're going to show you who you are. And, like, look at their stage set.
Yeah.
Police, line do not cross. I mean, their classic songs, Fuck the Police.
Right.
So I got Straight Outta Compton. I think when I actually got it when I was out in LA, and I remember I was like blasting it out, and I was actually visiting a friend who was going to USC, and I was like blasting it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is about that area, right?
Right.
But no, again, but you know what? Back to Johnny Cash. These photographs, you got to have have you guys heard Straight Outta Compton?
Of course.
Okay, I'm just making sure here. That is, like, to me, that's one of the greatest rap albums of all time.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things I liked about the image too was it was Ren and Eazy-E. And today, when you think about NWA, because if you didn't live through then, it's Dre and Ice Cube. And
Got a problem?
Well, they're the ones.
Got a problem?
Well, Ren didn't have any talent outside of his voice. I mean, it was Ice Cube was the writer.
Easy is his name.
And Dre was the writer. But Eazy was the mastermind.
Straight Outta Compton.
And the thing is I mean, just the ability to create something that was authentic, because, like, the angst of the era, the racial strife of Los Angeles, the riots around Rodney King, they captured it all. They were a zeitgeist more than a performing act, and they even got arrested at a couple of concerts, and so this was a real social moment almost. All right.
Well, and on top of that, it's just a great picture. You've got the composition is nice. You've got the two men and it's cut in half by the police line.
Rule of thirds, right?
Yeah, rule of thirds. It's really a great shot.
All right. So another iconic moment. I think we have a better Freddie photo that you chose, Rachel. Mm-hmm. But this is like the moment, right?
Yeah, this is Live Aid. Also, since we've already kind of gone there, I think that's the best picture of a pair of jeans that possibly has ever been taken.
Okay. Do you think he's wearing anything extra in there?
Nah, it's Freddie.
You have to watch the YouTube video to see that one.
The thing about Freddie that always, I was a kid during all this, and I really like Queen, but that one man looks like my dad. Freddie looked just like my dad.
And he always had like really strong, dramatic, motions and the arm there where he has the curl.
Well, and the great thing about Freddie is that he could command
he
could command an entire arena. The people in the back would bend to his will.
It's true, right? I mean, what was it that Elton John said to him after the Live Aid performance? Damn it, you owned the whole thing.
Yeah.
The only other guy there are only two bands I've ever seen that have done that. One was Bruce. I saw him literally shut down the entire, I guess they called it Verizon Center now. Verizon Center then, the phone booth. He shut down the whole phone booth by just putting his hand up. Everybody went quiet.
Oh, wow.
And then Metallica. I mean, Jesus, Metallica live is sick.
Metallica Live, 2000.
So this one's this just before we move on from Freddie. This is one with Brian May, kind of, kind of a nice touching moment where they're really close together, kind of banging through the song. I mean, they're probably so familiar with each other that they can't not do it. But any thoughts on that, just from your musical history or your experience shooting rock bands?
I think it's a beautifully composed shot, and of course, I'm a massive Brian May fan. I love Dr. May, and so anything with him, especially during this era, is just jaw dropping to me. But they probably can read each other's minds there, and I probably would have cropped it a little bit differently, but that's just an artistic choice.
Cool.
By the way, did you call him Dr. May?
Yeah, that's what he is.
He's a doctor?
Yeah.
He's
Yes.
he's like
He's an astrophysicist.
He's an
Yeah.
astrophysicist. He's like a
That's true.
super nerd. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now, speaking of artistic choices, this was I chose this photo because first of all, I wanted to include some folks that were kind of modern, and I wanted also to show some ladies as well. So, what better lady to start with than Lady Gaga? This was that Grammy performance where she came out of, this was the new album that came out after her big album, and she came out of an egg on stage, and it was, people were like, what is this? And it was a very weird moment, and I almost feel like that was the moment when her career went kind of from being like a mega star, the successor to Madonna, to what is this person? What is she doing? Any thoughts on it? Or
I'm thinking Alien the movie right now.
what's up with the sun hat?
Is that what that is?
It looks like a sun hat. It's like,
I thought she was carrying another egg, but that it does actually look like something you'd carry out at the beach. I don't know.
yeah.
It's a striking shot, and I like how abstract it is. I mean, it looks beautiful against the black background. I mean, as a photo, it definitely works. I haven't watched the Grammys in ages.
What are the Grammys?
Yeah, what are the Grammys? I don't know.
Or isn't it for bands that are like?
It's a
past the
travesty.
pasture?
Definitely not for metal bands. I'll tell you that much.
They're not for rap bands or anything else. It's not establishment.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. It's just a strange photo to me, but she's a strange person, and I think like what more than anything else, it kind of set her tone in her weird career. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's her thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the best thing about the photos. It's authentically, this is my expression. I am Lady Gaga. I am not Madonna, and I'm not something that you're going to just continue to can and replay.
Well, and she's not going to be crawling around on the floor wearing a bridal gown, but it's not boring either.
Madonna.
You know, it's not boring. It's an interesting picture.
All right. Let's talk about Michael, Mr. Jackson.
So this would have been probably late 1980s.
Yeah, I think
bad
it's a
era.
bad tour.
Yeah.
You know, it may have been on the Victory tour with the Jackson 5 or the Jacksons, not the Jackson 5. Yeah. So, first of all, he always, the photos I've seen of him is like this. I feel like people have mixed emotions now that all this stuff's come out about him.
Right.
But he was obviously one of the most iconic stars of his era.
Absolutely. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan as a child, and it's hard to know what to say about him now, you know, in 2020 in hindsight, but I miss the Michael Jackson
The
thought
creative.
I knew.
Right.
The one I thought I was familiar with, you know, which was somebody who was creative and made really fun music, and you know, when I was 10 years old.
Nothing?
Nothing, man. Except he's not wearing the white gloves. He's not.
That was very 1984, the glove.
Yeah, he's past that.
Yeah.
I was past that.
Yeah.
Right. Now that hair got longer. It actually feels like he's rocking that Jerry curl right there. There was that brief time where it looked like a Jerry curl.
Yeah.
The 80s.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, he's definitely past that period with the zipped up jackets and all that.
But this was, you know, I think this was right before the time he got weird.
I don't know. His face isn't too done. I think with this one though, it's like the thing I see with it is the absolute total control of his body.
Yes.
Like he always knew what he was doing as he performed, and he was just really striking.
It's a great image. I mean,
Yeah, he was a master on so many levels.
Well, and that's interesting that you mentioned that. Like, if I were to take off my glasses and go stand on the other side of the room, I wouldn't be able to see it because I'm blind, but I could see from the form, like the shadow, like I would still be able to tell that was Michael Jackson
100%.
from across the room without my glasses.
I mean, it's like a perfect yoga move.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
like insane. People don't move like that.
Right.
So on that note, I tried that experiment. Looks
can
like a gray blob. That's probably more of a me problem, just because
Oh man.
my eyes suck.
All right, I'm gonna do an audible and go to Prince before we do the next one because I feel like
Audible.
The thing with this Prince shot, this is the Super Bowl performance, and I feel like Prince, I've seen him live. He was honestly the best guitarist I've ever seen in my life.
Dude can play.
Me too.
No one talks about that.
Right?
No one talks about that. He could play.
And
I always wished he could have done a metal album because he would have absolutely destroyed.
100%.
Yes.
100%. Like one of my best performances or one of my favorite videos I've seen online was him doing the Rock Hall of Fame on George Harrison's While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And he's just this little guy there with his top hat. You can't really tell who it is. And there's Tom Petty and all these guys going through the song, and it's great. And then when the guitar solo hits, which is the Clapton guitar solo, so it's above everything. Here comes Prince, and he's just like, wham! And then he throws his guitar into the stage like, fuck you.
So this was Super Bowl, right? This was the
Right.
Super Bowl in the rain.
I think this was after the Nipplegate shot.
It would have had to have been, yeah.
Right.
This
And
was-
so this is, I think he's trolling everybody.
Oh, he's absolutely
this
trolling
is totally
everybody.
Prince, man. I love it.
Yeah,
You know?
that-
So I disagree. I don't think this is trolling. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
First of all, if you're a guitar player, that's like a natural stance, right? That's kind of like a natural
That's
move,
not a
right?
natural guitar, though.
Well, I agree. But you know what? I remember that performance really well.
He was
and you know
awesome.
what? Let me tell you something. I think what makes a musician really great, right, is that they can play through anything.
And it was
I remember that it was
pouring rain.
pouring, right? And by the way, you could probably take 10 shots from that Super Bowl, and they would all be awesome.
Right.
This one's good too. And yeah, it does kind of look like a penis, but
No. Really?
I would
No.
never have thought that. I would never in a million years ever think about dicks in my head, ever.
No. The thing, never mind.
no. We got all the time in the
No,
world.
my
Jeff. Come
wife
on.
listens to the show. I think I'm going to pass.
Oh.
Actually, she doesn't, but I don't blame her. All right. So, yeah, we all love that one. Let's go.
But that's another one where you don't even need to see his face. You don't really need to see much of
It's a
anything.
silhouette.
And it's just a silhouette, and
There's
you know
like
it's Prince.
Only one person can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right. That's a good one. Okay. So we like the Prince photo. Who is next? Oh, yeah. You can't talk like iconic rock without talking.
Look at all that. Oh, gosh.
Look at
those
Metallica.
people.
And that was the thing about Metallica, man. I remember the first time I saw them, it was the Monsters of Rock tour in the 80s. It was on the Injustice for All tour right before that. That's when Newsted had joined them. And this is Jason Newsted, the forgotten bassist. But he was probably the soul of that band during that time, man. Because, James Hetfield was drunk all the goddamn time. But maybe not. But he was so fucking nasty. He was so fucking nasty. And this is just like him at his best, right? Like, just look at that. That's Metallica in one photo to me.
And it's so metal.
It is.
You know, and I'm not usually that fond of, maybe I'm just old or something, but I'm not super fond of pictures where people are flipping the bird to the camera
been done, right?
because it's all the time. It's so done. But I feel like it works here. You know, I feel like it works. You've got all those people, and he's just like, fuck you, look at what I'm doing.
And I think it's an authentic fuck you. with
I
him.
really think it is too. It looks authentic. It's just not like some 45-year-old guy in a back of a limo going, fuck you. I think it feels genuine.
So the other thing that's interesting about it too is like when you think of classic metal imagery, you don't usually see these guys in white t-shirts.
No.
And here he is. With Newsted, I always kind of saw him as more of a punk, even though he played for Ozzy and obviously he was with Metallica for 15 years. He left the band to go do his own project. They wouldn't let him go do it. And he just said, that's it, I'm out. I'm leaving. At least the revisionist history has it as that. Anybody have any thoughts on him just generally before we move on?
Newsted? You know what I want? Like in Justice for All, I want there to be like a
remix.
remix. Yes, I do. I actually want to hear those bass lines.
Right. And that was Bob Rock's fault, right?
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. Lars blames Bob Rock and Bob Rock blames Lars, I think.
Yeah, they're not on good terms.
What are you going to do? All right, let's talk about Janet. We're going to quickly go to Nipplegate.
Another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think we could talk Super Bowl, talk Janet Jackson, talk Michael Jackson, and not talk this. And I actually think this is probably one of the most unfortunate photos out there because Janet Jackson, this is my take. I'm not really somebody who likes a lot of pop. I liked her work a lot. I liked
did
it
too,
because
yeah.
it was so visual. It had an edge. She was a fantastic performer. She sold a ton of albums. She was known as an incredibly dynamic performer, and yet now the only thing people know her for is this image. And the thing that I find tragic about it more than the fact that Justin Timberlake's in it is that music, particularly rock and roll, is about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
This is sex, man. And, in spite of like the awkwardness of the moment, and I think the awkwardness is realizing how bad it went for them. I just feel like if it wasn't the Super Bowl, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, remember that Lenny Kravitz photo where his like schlong literally fell out of his pants because his pants split open?
Yes.
Wait, that happened?
Yes.
That did happen. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah,
right?
because nobody cares. But
If that had happened at any other Janet show,
nobody,
we wouldn't be talking about it ever again.
people wouldn't have batted an eyelash.
Now let us show the real Janet Jackson here. This is the one that's the real performer. This is after she came out. I think this was 2016, so this is a more recent photo of her.
I'm about to say she looks a little older.
Yeah, but I feel like she's still got it. You know?
I was a fan. I like her. I think she's great.
Yeah. What do you think about the image with the hair kind of flying? Is it a wind machine or is it motion?
That feels like a fan.
Yeah.
That feels like a fan. I don't think she's moving much, but I could be wrong
She's
about
too
that.
old to move, man.
By the way, guys, ever listen to Rhythm Nation?
Yeah.
I actually have it on my sorry.
That is a great album.
Great album.
There's that one song that's like a metal song. It's awesome.
Black Cat.
Bingo.
Black Cat, yeah.
Bingo.
Rhythm Nation, the video, is actually one of my favorite videos with her in the uniform and the black and white cinematography. I was actually showing Soleil that, my daughter, just yesterday, and she's like, "Who is that? Oh my gosh." She loved it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I still listen to it.
Just like her brother, man. She knew every move, man. She knew all the imagery. She was fantastic. Okay, let's talk probably the modern pop star that's at least the performer of the decade from an album sales standpoint. We're going to go to Taylor Swift. I'm not a big Taylor fan myself. I have to suffer through her music at home. But I think this was a really good image, and she is known for live performances. Any thoughts on it?
It's definitely excessive and suits her image as a pop megastar.
Yes.
Like I would expect nothing else.
Right, like the cannons going off,
Yeah.
the smoke, the lights.
Champagne.
Yeah.
Yep. Champagne.
Do you feel like it's over-contrived?
Isn't all modern pop stars today over contrived?
How do you mean exactly?
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think the photo, like they knew it would look like this and it was intentionally staged that way? Or do you think
Oh,
that-
absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, come on, stop being so naive.
Well, it's Taylor, right? I mean,
Exactly.
would it be anything less?
Bingo. Good for you, Jeff.
Cool. Hey, man, I'm not you guys. That's why you're here.
Actually, that is why we're here, because of you, Jeff.
No.
You my boy.
It's
You my
'cause
boy, Jeff.
You're a subject matter expert. That's why you're here. All right. How about another iconic type of rock image? Anybody see U2 live? This is like every show, right?
I've seen U2 a few times. I don't recall Bono lying on the stage, but that doesn't mean that he never did.
Is he lying on the stage, or is it just like...
He,
So
he
when-
looks like he's lying down, but
When
I
they
don't
did
actually
the
know.
In the Round tour and also the tour where they had the heart,
I was at the Heart thing, yeah.
when they performed With or Without You, we would pull a young lady out of the audience and lay her down next to him and sing With or Without You, right next to her, serenading her in essence.
I remember that now, yeah. I just remember when they played here, I went with a friend from work, and we were randomly chosen to be in the heart,
Right.
which was very exciting.
Were you screaming your brains out?
I was not, because I was not as massive of a fan as
like-
she was.
You're like, where is Lemmy?
If Rob Halford doesn't show up, I'm leaving. I just remember saying, boy, he really looks like Robin Williams now.
Fuck.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah. But that's not, I remember talking to somebody about that. Like, he really looks like one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think thoughts, Brett, would you ever do that with somebody on stage? Would that be kind of crazy? Obviously,
What's that? Bring someone on stage?
Bring somebody on stage. Did you guys ever do that? Was it disruptive?
No, because once again, if you're good, you just, you can roll with the flow,
Right.
We brought on a side note, our drummer, he had a 14-year-old son, and he could beatbox. So one night we brought him on stage, and he beatboxed, and I did a little rap. And we owned that at Roofers Union.
Right.
So,
and before we move on to the Joshua Tree cover, which you chose, I believe, one more thing about that image. That I think the reason why it works so much is because it's like, for a lot of people, it's like a dream come true, right?
You can see it in her face.
Yeah,
it's
like
kind of
she's
blurred
crying.
and,
Like I remember several of them where the woman's usually crying and like just like, oh my god, the bottom, oh my god, I can't believe it. Like, what should I do? Yeah, but it's like, how accessible is that? It's just crazy. Like the world's biggest rock band of the 2000s, probably at that point. Debatable, very debatable. Okay, so this is the classic Joshua Tree cover, which was their huge breakthrough album.
1987, or was it 86?
87.
87.
87.
Thoughts? You and I have seen you two live together.
Yeah, we did. We did. 2018, June.
We brought our wives. That's
did
how
bring our
old it
wives.
is now. We're like in our 50s. We're you two. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stadiums.
indeed. So I think this is the first one where we're actually talking an album cover, right?
Right.
So here's the thing. And we were kind of talking about this before you came here, Jeff, because you were late. Jerk. Anyway. But I always say, like, the great albums set the tone, right?
Right.
It kind of, whether it's with a band or, even if it's like a graphic design, it kind of sets the tone, right? It provides a great image of the album, right? Serene, peaceful, atmospheric. That's what the Joshua Tree album was all about. So, those big reverby guitar lines, in fact, that album to me, while they're Irish, that album to me sounds like you're going on a road trip through the American Southwest.
Right. And of course, the follow-up album, Rattle and Hum, was literally that. And
literally
they got
that.
panned for it, which is too bad because it was a great album. I loved Rattle and Hum
Well,
personally.
Rattle and Hum was just like this collection of songs. Like, it wasn't a real album. It was just kind of like, let's just throw some shit together. It's cool.
Yeah. You got to be a U2 fan, I think.
Yes.
Maybe. Rachel.
I wore this vinyl out when I was a teenager. I loved Joshua Tree. I think this is an absolutely beautiful picture. It's an Irish band, but there's a very American, Western feel to, obviously, because it's probably shot somewhere in California.
Right. Joshua Tree National Park.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's Clint Eastwood. No, just kidding.
But it's a really beautiful, vast feel to it.
Great use of negative space on
Yes,
that one, right?
yeah.
And
And
the
I
way
like
they just the thirds again, right?
Yeah, and it's very interesting how the men are all kind of almost compressed into one half of the picture. It's almost one half of the picture is just them. Those are three men that could probably be easily spaced apart, but it's actually four. Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It's four.
In fact, like I was just about to say.
Adam Clayton stoned
Yeah,
in the back
he's
again.
way in the back. He's way in the
He's
back.
always
Sorry,
stoned in the
I
back.
meant four.
Yeah. No, it's interesting too. And that's also too when Bono finally cut his hair and they started to move towards where they kind of were less of a punk rock band. They became more of a pop band and they kind of evolved. Obviously the album that came after Rattle and Hum was Octung Baby, which was a complete change of gears. And what
One of my
an incredible
favorites.
album.
One of my favorites.
Favorite U2 album that nobody likes is Pop. I love that album.
It's a good one.
It is.
Misunderstood. And the one that no one talks about is Zeropa.
Zeropa was also good. But the thing about pop was it was like Paul's Boutique, like by the Beastie Boys, way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. Okay, Arch Enemy. This is one that you chose.
It is.
And I wanted to do this because I thought it was a really incredible image with the mic in the air, really great capture, well lit. It had to be for the mic to not be blurry. But it strikes me like when I see bands, when I saw your band, when I see small bands, large bands, they seem as iconic as some of these classic images. What is it about an image like this that makes us just fall in love with music and performing with it?
So I've shot Arch Enemy before, and I chose so just sort of full disclosure, the gentleman who took that picture is a man named Marcus Werner, who is in Munich, and he's one of my internet friends. And so and he's amazing. But
showing them off.
Yeah, so I wanted to promote his work. He's great. But this woman is about my height, and she does the death metal growls, and she is when she's on stage, she absolutely kills it. She's in a band, she's surrounded by men, and is in control of everything. And I feel like that image with the microphone in the air really kind of encapsulates her control of everything that's going on around her.
Very cool.
Yeah, I really like that shot.
I want to go back to the Newsted picture. And you know what? But because here's the difference.
Okay.
Here's the difference. Newsted, and to me, he's trying to be cool. Like, he knows the camera's there. And he's like, yeah, because, that's like your typical cliche, I'm going to flip you off kind of move. I know. It's like we're backtracking and, revisionist.
That's funny because I look at that like, fuck you, I'm performing in front of 100,000 people and you're not.
Nah. Well, no. And I think that's true. But you know what? So here's the difference. He's wanting you to be cool there, but she's like actually like, because like there's no camera there. Like I mean, let me rephrase. She's
not on the same level.
Exactly. She doesn't know a picture's being taken.
So you feel like there's more authenticity.
It's more authentic. It's more real. It's more, definitely, as you said, there's more strength there, owning the stage, In fact, before that, we were talking about, looking at iconic photos, particularly metal, right? You look at like these people that when they play, the great ones, like not only they are in control, but like it feels like they have a weapon in their hand. And in this case, like it feels like that mic's a weapon, And in this case, it's the most dangerous weapon because you probably got like 15,000 people in the audience. Like you could tell them like
it's probably much more than that. I think where was that taken? Can you read that? Is that
Wicken Schlossweg Hosting?
Oh yeah, that's probably like 100,000 people. Right
100,000 people.
Are
they that big there?
Well, no, that's a festival.
Okay, Wacken
Open Air.
2018.
Yeah.
Did you say whacking?
Hey man, I don't name these things. I mean, like, would I ever name a show Coachella? Coachella.
It's the biggest metal festival in the world.
Yeah.
So anyway, but this says to me that, hey, all you people, 100,000 people out there,
it's like a
throw gasoline,
toss,
throw gasoline on yourselves and light yourself on fire, and they all do it.
She doesn't need to flip off the cameras
because she's that badass.
Yeah, because she's naturally a badass and doesn't have anything to prove.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Sorry, Jeff.
Cliff Burton's shoes, too big. All right, y'all.
Oh, I agree.
I think that's it. We covered a lot of ground. I do feel like we just touched the surface. Like we went like a mile long and an inch deep. So many different ways we could go with this. So. All right. Cue it up, Panama. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Show Me podcast with Jeff Livingston. More shows, sponsorship, and donation information are available at showmepodcast.com.